Hello everyone, this is Mr. Storm, and in this video, I am going to talk all about Canvas quizzes. But before we even start talking about quizzes, we need to talk about, in my opinion, a widely underused feature called item banks. Now, banks will allow you to create sets of questions that you can use to create quizzes. You might be thinking, why would I want to do that? That just sounds like creating a quiz. Well, what you can do with item banks is you can create a set of questions all related to a specific unit or a lesson that you are teaching, and then you can create a randomized quiz where the quiz will take, let's say, 5 or 10 questions from that item bank, and it will randomize it for each student, and it will be random. It will be new sets of questions every time a specific student retakes that quiz. So for example, if the student takes the quiz the first time, they get 5 questions, they don't do very well. There's no way for them to look at those quizzes or there's no way for them to memorize the correct answers, retake the quiz, and then just fill out the correct answers and then move on, because they're going to get a completely random set of questions every time. So this is a really helpful feature. It makes creating quizzes super easy. So here in banks, we have a couple of options we want to pay attention to. First of all, this is a brand new course, so I have no question banks yet. I can search for institution banks or banks that have been shared to this course. So for example, institution banks. Here are some that have been shared to UMA as an institution. These are ones that I've created for another class. I can look at all banks, which are going to be banks that are shared publicly to the overall global Canvas environment. But I'm not going to look at those. I want to create my own, and I want to store it here in this course. So the way that you can do that is click plus bank. I'm going to enter the name of this question bank. This is just going to be we'll call this the example bank, because I'm going to use this question bank to create questions of all different types that we can use in quizzes. I want to share this with the game dev template so that I can see it in this menu, and click Create Bank. Now the menu changes, and you're probably thinking, wait a minute, where did that bank go? Well, we need to reorganize it by clicking this course, and then we will see our example bank as it pops up here. Notice that there are 0 questions in this question bank, so we need to start creating some. We can share this question bank with other organizations. For example, I can share it with the UMA institution itself. I can share it with a specific person or course or whatever. I can go down here and change the edit permissions for the courses that this is shared with. I can also edit the name of the bank if I click the pencil. But if I click on the bank itself, it will take me to a blank page that says there are no questions in this bank yet. So to create a new question, I'm going to click this plus new button. And I have all of these options for question types that I want to submit or that I want to create. I'm going to go through and create a question for each one of these types. Now, I've created a little cheat sheet for myself that has question examples in all the different types. So I'm going to be copy and pasting a lot. I'm pretty sure you don't want to watch me just type everything. But let's start up here at the top with categorization. Categorization questions are questions where you have to take items and put them into the proper category. So you can put the question title up here if you'd like. So categorization or whatever you want. Then you can put in your question stem. This is the actual question that you want to ask. So I'm going to copy and paste here. Categorize the following animals based on their habitat: forest, ocean, or desert. So forest, ocean, and desert, these are the categories. Now notice I only have 2 categories here, so I need to add an additional category by clicking this plus category button. The first category is forest. Second category is ocean. Third category is desert. And in here, I can put the correct answers. So for forest, I'm going to put bear, and let's create another one, deer. For ocean, I will put dolphin and shark. And for desert, I will put camel and scorpion. Okay. So those are the correct answers, and they've been categorized properly. I can add as many categories as I want and as many answers as I want. I can add distractors as well, meaning I can type, I don't know, human, right? And you'd have to figure out where humans live. But that's not a great distractor because you can technically say humans live in the desert, some humans live in the forest. I don't think any humans live in the ocean, but maybe. I can choose, I got click happy for a second. Let's delete these distractors. I can choose to show an on-screen calculator, but this is strange for this type of question. It's more recommended for math questions, obviously, but I can choose between basic or scientific calculator. I'm going to just uncheck that. Down here, I can align this question to specific outcomes. Now, this question will align to my organizational outcomes, not the outcomes I have stored in my class. Okay, so it's going to go to the organizational level outcomes, and I can say game dev 1, I'm going to align it to, I don't know, relevant history for video games. What that's going to do is anyone who is looking at question banks from an organizational level will be able to see these questions aligned to that standard. So you can do that. You can align questions specifically to outcomes here, but it's not as necessary as maybe aligning the entire quiz itself, which I'll show you how to do. And then you can put in tags and metadata so that it's easier for people to find this question if they're looking for this question in a question bank. But for now, I'm going to leave all that. That looks pretty good. I'll click done. So that's a categorization question. And when I'm done, I'm going to create a quiz so we can see what all these look like at the end. So then fill in the blanks. Let's create a new question, fill in the blank. The way to write a fill in the blank question is, let me copy and paste my thing here. Fill in the blanks are really easy to write questions. Basically, you use this, the tilde key or the little, I'm not sure exactly what it's called. Back ticks is what they're calling them. You use the back tick to surround the the answer that you're looking for. Okay, so in this question, an atom consists of positively charged nucleus composed of protons, positive, and neutrons, neutral, and surrounded by negatively charged electrons. So they're going to see composed of blank, positive, and blank, neutral, and surrounded by negatively charged blank. And they have to fill in those answers. Now, there are many different ways that they can fill those answers in. You can have it be an open entry, meaning they have to type exactly the right answer. You can create a drop-down that has all of the options, and they have to choose the correct one from the drop-down, or a word bank, where you put a bunch of different words in there, and they have to choose the word from the word bank. So there are quite a few different ways to do this. All right, next question, matching. So matching is going to ask students to match one item over here with an item over there, or vice versa, right? So for example, we could say match the country with the corresponding capital. So then we would have France, and the capital is Paris, and we could have Germany, and the capital is Berlin. And we can have Japan, capital is Tokyo. And we can have Brazil. Oh, I misspelled Brazil. And the capital is Brasilia. All right. We can add as many question-answer pairs as we want. We can add distractors here as well. We can also shuffle the questions. So that way these are all shuffled up and they're harder to just guess randomly. We can give partial credit, meaning if they got some of these right, but some of them wrong, then they can get partial credit for the for the question, or we can set it to be exact match, meaning they have to get everything perfect in order to get any credit at all for this question. Next question, numerical. This is a question in which the answer is going to be just a number. So for basic math questions, this works. We can say, what is the value of 4 to the second power minus 3 to the second power? So instead of writing it out like that, actually, what we could do is we can use some of these features that we have available to us. So 4, and then over here in MathQuill, I can pull that up and I can go to, so let's say 4 to the second power minus 3 to the second power. So I can put that in there. Let me get rid of the others. So what is the value of 4 to the second power minus 3 to the second power? I think I needed that backslash there. And I'm looking for an exact response. I can also put in a margin of error. I can put in a range or a precise response. I'm not sure what the difference between exact and precise response is. We'd have to dig into that to find out. I can also add other possible answers. So if there's more than one possible answer for the question I'm asking, then that's available as well. But the important thing is, not only can we use MathQuill to create formulas, we can also upload pictures. We can use videos, we can create tables, all of the real text editing stuff that we're going to talk about in a later video. All that stuff we have available to us here, it's available in quiz questions as well. I'm going to click done. That question is ready. Next, essay questions. These are the easiest to write in my opinion, but the hardest to grade because it's, you actually have to look at the answer, as opposed to allowing Canvas to grade it for you. So with an essay question, this, for example, discuss the impact of social media on society, focusing on both positive and negative aspects, provide examples to support your arguments. So in here, we can say, give them the calculator if we want, but we can also give them the rich content editor, meaning they can do all the things that we have here, change their font, change the color, add images, all those things. We can show the word count so they can see how many words they've typed. We can also set a word limit. So we can have a minimum number of words that we need them to type and a maximum number of words that they can't go over. So if I want this to be within 100 words, 100 to 150 words, then I can put that limit in there. I would also probably want to let them know in the question as well, discuss the impact, in between 100 and 150 words of social media on society. Yeah. So down here for grading notes, you can write notes that you can see when grading. That'll basically give you an idea of what you're looking for, all of those things. So that's essay questions. Let's take a look at formula questions. So formula questions look somewhat complicated, but they're not, right? So let's go with a simple formula. So first, so enter your question, build a formula, and generate a set of possible answer combinations. Students will see the question with a randomly selected set of variables filled in and have to type the correct numerical answer. This is great for, let's say you're going over a specific formula in math class. You're teaching, the area of a rectangle, right? So you can write a question. For example, you can use the area formula for a rectangle to calculate the area of a rectangle with a length of L units and a width of W units. Now again, we're using these backticks to surround what we want to be considered variables. So length and width are variables for this question. Automatically, it comes down here and recognizes L and W as variables. We can set minimum numbers for those variables. I don't want 0 on length or width, so I'm going to set 1 as the minimum because the zeros throw off that formula. It's impossible to have a 0 length anyway. So I'll have 1 for the minimum, and we'll set max to 10. Down here, write the formula or formulas used to compute the correct answer. So we can say A equals L times W. Oh, we're going to use the asterisk for. So that's the area of a rectangle. And then I want to generate possible solutions. 200 is the default. That's fine. We want so the margin type is going to be absolute, meaning it has to be specifically the correct answer. There's no margin of error there. I'm going to click generate, and it's going to create about 100 different solutions, because 1 to 10, 1 to 10, there's only 100 solutions there. But it's going to find all of the different permutations of those variables within the ranges that I set. And then what I can do when I'm creating a question, I can use this same question and I can just multiply it 10 times. And that way they get the same formula that they have to solve for, but the variables are different every single time. So this is a really fun way, or a really easy way, to create a quiz that has a bunch of questions on it, but you're all reviewing the same formula. Let's say you're reviewing a bunch of different formula. You could have one question for each different formula you're reviewing and do like 10 questions with that same formula, just with different variables on each question. That's pretty easy. All right, multiple answer questions. This is one where you will get check boxes next to the answers, and they have to check all of the answers that apply. So for example, I can say, let me copy and paste. Which of the following are primary colors in traditional color theory? Select all that apply. And I can give them the options of red and blue and yellow, which is the correct answer, red, blue, and yellow. But I'm going to throw in some others, green, purple, and let's say orange. Okay, so red, blue, and yellow are the correct answers. Green, purple, oranges are incorrect. I want to shuffle my choices there. Again, we can use partial credit or exact match. I will do partial credit. Actually, I'll do exact match on this one. So yeah, they have to choose all three of those. Okay, ordered question. So ordering question. So this is basically ordering items in a specific order. So place the following events in chronological order, and I can say events. And it could be Renaissance period, or let's say U.S. Declaration of Independence, World War II, and the moon landing. You can add as many of these as you want again, and you can also have a bottom label down here as well. Display answers in a paragraph. I'm not quite sure what that does. I've played around with it and I haven't seen a big difference. Again, on-screen calculator, you can use this for, look at the following formula or solve the following equations and order them in their, whatever. Include labels. But yeah, students would actually have these as options, and they have to put them in the correct order. All right, file upload question. This one's fun. I use this a lot. Some of you are never going to use this, and that's okay. But for me, what I do is I would say, well, let me show you a real example. So I have an assignment in my design class where I have, let me download the file. I have a file. This picture, it's me in front of the Capitol building, and I have students cut out the background and then put me in a different background. Some kids have put me in Mordor. Some kids have put me at, concerts. Some kids have put me in jail. A lot of kids put me in jail, actually. Whatever's fun or interesting for them. And it's really just testing their ability to cut a background out of a photo. So I can take this image and I can add this into the question. So Mr. Storm Goes to Washington.jpg is ready. I can import it, and it will import it as an image. And I can say down here, let me grab my instructions. Remove the background using the marquee and selection techniques you've learned this week. Then put a new background behind me. Upload the final version here as a PNG. I'm going to make this a bit bigger. Okay. I can do a file limit number, meaning I only want a certain number of files, and I can also restrict file types. Notice that up here, I said I want it as a PNG. So I'm only going to allow them to submit PNG files. If I want more, like say I want JPEG files as well, I can separate those by commas. Okay. So then they will be able to right click and download that picture and then manipulate it and upload the final product. Okay, perfect. All right, hotspot. This one's a cool one. I wish I could find ways to use this more because this is a really fun one. So for example, what you can do with this is essentially you can show them an image and then they have to click on the image to answer the question in a certain place. So here's one that I found. You can have the question stem be something like copy and paste. This could be for like a Utah studies class. Indicate on this map where the state capitol is located. And as the teacher, you can draw an oval around where the state capitol is located, which right about there, right? That's right about where Salt Lake is. But yeah, you can draw it right where the state capitol is located, and then students would have to click within that bubble in order to get the right answer. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool question type. There's also a polygon. You can create a polygon of a custom shape. You can create a square. Oh, you can make the image bigger so that you can see it better. Anyway, so yeah, that's a hotspot question. All right, let's see. Multiple choice. This is a pretty standard question type. We've used these for pretty much every quiz that I've ever seen in school ever. So the correct answer can be indicated by clicking the radio button. So Mars is the red planet. Venus, Jupiter, Saturn. Let's vary the points by, okay. So vary points by answer will allow you to set different points for so if someone says Mars, they get 1 point. If they say Venus, or maybe they get 3 points. If they say Venus, let's give them 1 because that's almost correct. I don't like using that, but you can if you really want to. Shuffle choices, I definitely like. Over here, you can put feedback for their choices. So let's say they choose Mars, you can say, awesome. If they choose Venus, you can say something like, not quite, right? So that's one way that you can use those. All right, and then final one, which is probably the easiest to understand, true or false. This is pretty easy. And true or false, let's say the Great Wall of China is visible from space, and that is false. It is not visible from space. Okay, so that's all the different question types. And now I have a question bank full of all these questions. The best way to use question banks is to use them to create quizzes. Now this video is already pretty long, so I'm going to go quickly through this next step. I just want to show you how to use this. Oh, I clicked the wrong. Let me go back to nope, that's Game Dev Sandbox. So when you start trying to go quicker, you make mistakes. All right, so I have my item bank. It's still there. Okay, I have my example bank. Now if I want to create a quiz out of it, I can go to quizzes, plus quiz. I'm going to choose new quizzes. Item banks do not work with classic quizzes. They only really work with the new quizzes because there are certain quiz types, question types, that are only in new quizzes. Plus, I kind of like new quizzes anyway. It's a bit, I don't know, it's nicer. So I want to, by default, or at the minimum, I want to give this quiz a name. So example quiz. And I have to set a due date. Then I can build the quiz by clicking build. And it's going to allow me to start building this quiz. If you've ever built like a Google form, it's a lot of the same. It looks a lot the same as a Google form. Here I can align this quiz to my institution outcomes, basically the ones that I've set for my course. So I'm going to align this to relevant history of video games. Yep. So we will select that, confirm alignments. So this quiz is aligned to that state standard. And then I can choose item banks and I can bring in my example bank. I'll click all. So now it's going to create a 12 question quiz with all questions pulled from my example bank. Now, let's say I only want this to be 5 questions. I can say randomly select questions, 5 questions, 1 point per question. And that's it. That's the quiz. That's creating a quiz using item banks. So if you have question banks that are built already, this makes it so much easier to create quizzes on the fly. There are some settings you might want to pay attention to. I can shuffle the questions, shuffle answers, 1 question at a time, which I use. I think it helps kids to focus on 1 question if you have 1 question at a time. You can put a password for the quiz itself. You can set a time limit for that quiz if you want. Filter IP addresses, you won't play around with that at all. Allow calculator, so we can allow calculators for that quiz. Allow clearing a selection, so if I have a multiple choice question, I can allow students to uncheck one of the radio boxes that they've clicked. Allow multiple attempts. We can keep the average score of all of their attempts, the latest or the first. We can allow for limited attempts. We can require a certain amount of time between attempts if we want. And we can also restrict what they see when they're done. So we can show the points awarded overall. We can show points possible. I like to show items and questions. Actually, yeah, you can. I usually uncheck items and questions because I don't want them to see what the correct answer was on a question that they got wrong, but it's up to you. It's however you want to do it. You can see reports for this specific quiz, outcomes analysis, see if kids are aligning to your state standards, how, whether or not they're indicating that they're mastering that standard or not. You can moderate a quiz in class, so you can actually actively view what's going on with that quiz. The last thing I want to do, though, is I want to show you what it looks like from a student's perspective taking a quiz like this. So I'm going to take this quiz as a student. I'm going to click begin. I'm going to get randomly one of those questions that we created. It's not going to be, oh, there we go, hotspot. So I have indicate on the map where the capital is located. So I go, where is it? Right there, I think. Oh, maybe it's right there. Oh, maybe it's right there. Maybe it's here. I'm going to click right there. Next. And then I would have to upload a file, so I can go to browse. I'll upload the same one. I'm probably not going to get good points on that assignment, on that question. Use the formula of the rectangle to calculate a 8, so that's 80. Mars and false. So that is our question. That is our quiz. And if I were to take this again, And I can see I got 4 out of 5 points because one of those needs to be graded still. The file upload question still needs to be graded. I could take it again and I will get random questions, meaning I'll get different questions this time. Oh no, I only allowed for 1 attempt. Never mind. But that is the power of using item banks to create quizzes. All right, this video is already over 30 minutes long. I'm going to cut it here. This is a very complicated subject, but quizzes, I think, are the backbone of most classes. And so if you master using this feature, especially item banks, it's going to make it a whole lot easier to assess whether or not your kids are learning what they're supposed to learn. All right, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.